was a gun.
I'm not voting.
If we want to build our nation.
The problem with the Somalians.
Just want to experience something else than a black man.
Move on, move forward.
A horse with blinkers on.
Honestly say, I was about to have sex and then I pulled
crap,
up.
but it's nice.
Tebogo Mabunda, I'm from Johannesburg.
Everyone in HPRN.
You get I need money. Don't know where I'm from yet.
Nelly from Cape Town.
Tandile, random ops guy.
At the core of it, we, as black people, essentially have, to an extent, inherited something that's really fucked up.
Forced inheritance.
Yeah, I suppose.
Some sort of like mental slavery of sorts where we.
It's like years
or
and centuries of white supremacy. No, I just agree
the
to
majority,
what
the
you're saying. It's not just
majority
inheritance that we
of
chose.
the people. Let's speak about South Africa. The majority of the people in our country find themselves living in very fucked up situations, messed up situations, and what you see as success, what you know to be good, is not this.
It's of a white standard.
Yeah, it's of a white standard, exactly. So we find ourselves now.
What's being sold to us.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So now we end up.
Not necessarily sold. It's been
You
forced
you find that now people.
Sold, you buy it. You buy it. You can
No,
choose.
At some point you were forced.
It was forced. Now
Into
it's
it.
like it's just
You
a
find
random
that
generation.
people
Continue with it.
don't subscribe to like their culture the same way they used to.
For me, my understanding of like coconut is just like a black person who actually aspires to be white. So kind of abandons.
More with being white.
Yeah, abandons pretty much everything that's
Yeah.
blackness,
Yeah.
like in terms of
Yeah.
culture, language,
True. That's exactly,
and lifestyle, and the way you dress, like a whole. Like,
That's confusing though because we
How?
all speak
But sometimes it's
English.
not like they
We all speak English.
No. It's not about speaking English. Everyone is getting taught in English. What you do afterwards is up to you.
Yeah, but what I mean is in social circles we speak English and white people speak in English. How do
No.
you
I'm
differentiate
saying I
between
said
you and
abandoning, like you're abandoning. That's what I said. I didn't say it particularly
You have
that.
to ask yourself,
But what do you think about the label itself, like a coconut?
It's relevant. I mean, black outside, white inside. How you present yourself, you know.
Sometimes you feel like, okay, well, how do I even begin to go back?
Yeah, but that's now we're not talking how you go
Yeah.
back. But that's a coconut. Maybe you're a coconut of circumstances. Some people are coconut of their own choosing. You know what I
Okay,
mean?
I want examples. Like, what kind of things must you abandon in order to be labeled as a coconut?
No, there's people that actually they don't do any traditional ceremonies or like not necessarily have to actually prove yourself that you're actually black, but like I don't know, little things
Even the
like.
people who can speak their own mother tongue, people like are termed coconuts.
I feel like, it's being black consciousness at the same time, knowing Guti, where am I from? What is my background? Trying to do as much research, even though okay, here right now I've got this white family, but at the same time I'm not purely white. You know what I mean? I was raised by whites, but where do I come from as a black person? Where are my origins and everything? Where am I based? You know what I mean?
But like sometimes people are termed coconuts just from the way they speak. And then you're not going to change that. You're not going to change the way you speak because you were raised by a white family and then you're eloquently fluent. The way it's just...
I think we
I don't
have
know.
different levels of labeling coconuts.
That's why I'm
Because,
saying.
for
That's why I
example,
actually.
we all speak fluently, but we are conscious of how black we are. We understand our race and we're not trying to be anything else. And also, being raised by a white family or a black family doesn't necessarily mean anything. You're old enough to decide what you want to be. And in terms of culture, how you dress and what you abandon, we have already abandoned our closer speaking languages and everyday use.
No, but
because
I-
when I bump into him, I don't speak
I don't
Xhosa.
fully agree with that
I
because
speak
if you just
Xhosa, English
abandon.
and everything else.
Well,
So
code switching is good.
what I mean to say is speaking a language is not an indication of whether you're coconut or not.
I mean, like the way people,
that's what I
like
said
it's easy
initially.
for people to term you from that. They can just
that's what I'm
label
saying.
you that.
Even being a coconut has different perspectives. And my perspective would be a person who's that one black friend in the circle. You get those who don't want to mingle with other black people. They prefer to be that one in the group.
That's exactly what I said.
Look
There's
down
people
on
that
people.
just wanna
You get
associate.
people who make fun of other people's accents because they were privileged enough to have a posh
better,
white
yeah.
accent. And so that would be a coconut, in my opinion.
I always ask a question, ne? Uthi Christianity and amasiko wethu, ne? Setho sa rona. Do they mix? Do they ever mix? But then, if you look at all of our townships and Lasbuya Khona, essentially, ne? On Sunday, we all wake up and we go to church. Christ this, blah, 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 blah. We go about all that. The previous night, Besenza Masigo, you were slaughtering, you were doing this, you were doing that. No? It gets to a point where some people don't even do Lezinto Zamasiko because that blackness is something else. Somebody will say, no, it's inhumane to do this and that. No, I'm not going to slaughter here because Labantu bazotini, this and that. Whereas if you were true to who you are and understood who you are, you would hold on to those values that make you who you are.
It's funny because as a black person, if you don't believe in Christianity now, you coconut. You know, because you don't believe in the Bible.
This,
you know what I mean? But the people who bought
Aren't
this,
the white people the ones who came with the Bible?
they came,
So
and
is
now
it-
they don't even
So
believe
what?
in that. So now there's this whole double edge and twistedness to this whole coconut thing. You know what I mean? We get given this thing, we get given things to abide by and to look up to, and then the people who give us these things to abide by and look up to, they
I think-
abandon these things, and then, you know what I mean?
evolution.
No,
So
I
this
think,
whole
I
coconut
think you
thing
have
is...
a point there. At which point do we separate tradition from religion? I don't think either defines us as a race. You can be Christian and traditional at the same time and still acknowledge that you're black. You can still be black inside and recognize other black people as valuable members of society. It doesn't make you any less black or it doesn't make you white. But what really defines us as people is the way we treat each other. I don't go to church. I don't necessarily have any rituals that I do. It doesn't mean I disrespect black people, or it doesn't mean that I'm abandoning my culture. I never had one. Let's start there. I wasn't born into a space where I was told to go to church or I needed to do imbeleko or this and that. But I know that I'm black.
My history makes me aware that I'm black. My beliefs makes me aware of I'm black. My day-to-day life in terms of how I carry myself through those beliefs. You know, there's certain things I do when I go home.
Like what?
Some of them I can't mention, you know, on air. But there's certain rituals that I do when I get home, you know, before I leave home, you know, during the day, that are in line with my ancestors and you know what I mean, with that lineage and that heritage of being black.
I'm very different from the whites because of my history. No matter where you go, you could be in Europe. I don't care whether you're in Jamaica, where there's like only black people are surrounding you. They also have a history, and that history impacts
Rasta.
everyone.
Why is it that when we see a dark ass black person, almost navy blue, we laugh, wow, good, like that, good. I mean, that's what we used to do. We used to do that in primary school, blah, 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 you know what I mean? From the north in Africa, we laugh at that cat. But then white folks can appreciate it. Oh, it's African.
I'll tell you why.
What's it about us?
Because if you lighter skin, you're much more closer to actually being a Caucasian than you're in a darker skin. Because this whole thing has been like brought down
It still
from years
goes
and years.
back to the white
Because
man,
the much
right?
more white, the
I won't
much
lie.
more lighter you are, the much more like you probably have
Okay.
some
Yeah,
white
but then,
inheritance in your blood, or like some
As
great
dark as you
great
are, you
father.
feel
You know what I mean?
that.
But if you're just completely black, you just know your lineage has probably been like completely black from like origin. You know what I mean? So there's like, if you like light skin, there's that perspective that somehow you must have had privilege.
What I'm saying is that it's all up here. It's like that mental slavery thing I
know,
was talking about.
I agree.
And that's the root of it. I think if we had a grander sense of worth, a grander sense of
if we acknowledge that
love
that sense of
for who we are as black people, then some of these problems might actually
But we're
you
saying
know,
that.
fizzle
We're
away.
saying, I think that's the first step. It's the languages.
Yeah.
That's the first step. Once we start to get to know each other's languages a bit here and there, and then we can start communicating a bit here with the languages, then I think that's step number one.
Another
Because-
point
Because
I
we get
think-
the white people. They studying, white people from here at SA will tell you, no, I studied French. Studied German. Nothing to do with where they are.
The economics of being black is basically the reason we don't appreciate who we are. When I say don't appreciate, I'm not meaning we
That's the
demean
only
ourselves.
reason,
I
yeah.
mean the reason why
True.
we would rather be something else. Because when you
True.
speak European languages, you have more economic advantage. You get better opportunities. You get better circles that take you further than if you knew 11 official African languages. That you can only get a job as a closer presenter or as a vendor news reporter or things like that.
But
so
you see,
that
that's-
is
that's
really that's the historical part of it that makes us feel like we're inferior when we are this skin tone.
No, I've never had a weave, but like when I cut my hair all the time, I always get like those black beauty thing, African queen, which really irritates me. I don't get what are you talking about? What is this
Because
African
I understand where
queen?
it's coming from, because there's really any people like that. Because
No, again, it's branding.
That's why they say it.
branding.
You
African
actually
beauty,
insulting me
European beauty. We are branding people into boxes. That's what the
That's
media
insane.
does. And the reason we are looking the way we're looking is because some people respond.
I don't
to it.
necessarily-
So let's not
that-
blame it
that's-
all on one factor.
It started from us seeing that white woman look so pretty with that hair, and the fact that she just runs her hair like her
And hers
fingers.
naturally
yes,
straightened.
and hers it's naturally straightened. But you know what? Because there was a market that said we'll give you artificial hair that will look white, but it will be, done for you black people, and that's why people went crazy about it. You know what I mean? If there was only natural hair on TV, do you think people would have weaves?
There are people who have extended dreadlocks on TV. There are people who have afros on TV. There are people
Extended
who have
afros as well.
Yes, and
Hold
there are
that
people who
thought.
have
She was
curly
trying to
hair.
say something.
So it's not an argument of straight European influences anymore. Let's get it right.
who else has
But
straight
that's
hair?
where it
Yes,
started.
but
That's where it was based.
yes,
That's where it
wait,
started. People choose of being coconuts. People choose of having weaves. It goes back to that. But to be quite honest, even our parents, our great grandparents, they started straightening their hair because they saw white women with straight hair to start with. That's when they used to burn
So you
themselves
got
with
this, like-
stones, trying to let this thing go straight because the white woman was always superior. She looked prettier. So that's what I'm saying. Right now, yes, it's just a weave because I like it,
Yeah, but the roots of
where
it-
it all
roots
started.
of it.
If you go back there,
We need to know where this whole thing came from for us to actually deal with it better. If we just say, oh, this situation, this problem is right here now, let's deal with it. My thing is like, where is this thing coming from? How did it come to where it's at right now?
Yeah, we live in trying times, man. Like, where we've come from with this whole conversation about blackness, who we are, where we come from, what we do, how we behave, and getting to the point where we, I think, understand that the root of it all is what keeps the weed growing. If you're gonna cut it at the top, the weed will still come up. So, dig it out from the bottom, instead of dealing with things on the surface.
well, my dream is basically more wishing that we could embrace who we are and also knowing where we're from, at the same time being able to succeed in who we are and being accepted for who we are. Not that we need to be that race or that skin tone in order for us to be able to be successful.
My dream is like an anarchist dream. I believe in entire abolishment of government and politicians and letting people govern themselves.
My dream as a teacher is to see African languages taking value in society. We've got a lot to give to society as the African nation, and I think that we don't need to speak English to give that. We need to give that in our own native tongues.
My dream is my dream, and you don't need to know nothing about it, man.
My dream is to retell our history in our own voices.
My dream is to go back to the future.
Yazi, you should ever sit and talk with people, or else take a walk and create a straight talk. Talk what is nice, it will make you feel stronger. Listen what is right and say what is wrong. You should ever sit and talk with people, or else take a walk and create a straight talk. Talk what is nice, it will make you feel stronger. Listen what is right and say what is wrong.